Around IT in 256 seconds by Tomasz Nurkiewicz. Episode 44. RESTful APIs.
REST is an architectural style of communication based on HTTP. It was proposed in the year 2000 by Roy Fielding. In his dissertation, he describes the way systems should communicate, embracing fundamental features of HTTP. He puts emphasis on statelessness, support for caching, uniform representation, and self-discoverability. APIs that adhere to these principles are called RESTful. It's much easier to understand what RESTful API is when contrasted to SOAP. SOAP is a heavyweight, standardized communication protocol. To use SOAP API, we must first declare all operations, including their inputs, outputs, and errors. This declaration is known as WSDL. It uses verbose XML schema and is very strict. Every request and response is encoded using XML. There is just one URL for all operations. Let's contrast that to REST. First of all, different entities are exposed via different URLs. For example, a hotel's API may have /guests and /rooms endpoints. These are called resources and can be hierarchical, like /guests, /ID, /bookings. Such a resource represents all bookings for a guest with a particular ID. Secondly, resources should support proper HTTP verbs. In practice, this means calling get on a guest resource retrieves that guest. Calling put updates, calling post creates a new one, calling delete deletes that customer. Of course, not every domain can be encoded with CRUD operations, so sometimes we must be creative. It's worth mentioning that some verbs like get, put, and delete are idempotent. It means we can safely repeat them without introducing inconsistencies. Post creates a new resource, so retrying it will inevitably create a duplicate. Thirdly, API should be discoverable. With SOAP, the API is known in advance in every detail. RESTful APIs discourage that. Instead, clients should interact with the API and discover its capabilities at runtime. In theory, the base URL of the API should be enough. No schema, definition, documentation. For example, you simply call api.examplehotel.com, and what you get in return is a list of available top-level resources, guests, rooms, etc. So you enter /guests URL and you get a list of guests as URLs. You continue crawling to, for example, guests/42 and get the details of one guest, along with URL to his or her reservations. The API can evolve, so you should continue exploring its capabilities over time rather than hard-coding URLs. This feature is abbreviated as HateOS. These and other guidelines allow building APIs that take what's best from the HTTP protocol. For example, built-in support for caching and human-readable representation. Not every API that claims to be RESTful follows all these guidelines. There's a Richardson maturity model for RESTful APIs, starting with level 0 for SOAP and alike. HateOS is level 3. REST is not a silver bullet. Not every domain is easily mapped to URLs and HTTP verbs. Some concepts are quite awkward to model, like paging, searching, partial updates. The lack of schema may lead to subtle bugs and incompatibilities. Thanks for listening. Bye.